The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of SFM.
Welcome to Behind the Rack, your casual AV industry hangout with hosts Hugo Chavret, Franco Caruso, and myself, Vincent Simoneau. We dive into products, trends, and the occasional rant, all to share, learn, and spark new ideas across pro audio, live sound, broadcast, and systems AV. So grab your headphones, pull up a chair, and join us for some honest, sometimes nerdy, always fun conversations, all happening behind the rack. So, what's happening, guys?
I think today we'd like to talk about what's a distributor in the AV industry and what's the role of a distributor in the realm of AV and in the market. So I don't know. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I think we all work for a distributor now, but we've all had a past history in distribution, and I think I'd love to hear about the evolving role of the distributor, of the AV industry, of the AV distributor as a whole.
But I think we should start with explaining who are the different.
Yes.
Who are
For all those who don't understand what a distributor is, who wants to kick that off?
I don't mind. I don't mind doing it.
Yeah,
I think there's four different.
I think there's four steps in the
Yeah.
supply chain that we need to talk about and just define who they are and what role they play. So I guess you're starting we'll call it from the bottom up.
Yeah.
You've got your end user, who's the person that's buying the product at the end of the day. They are then buying it from the reseller
Or an integrator.
or an integrator in our market. That reseller or integrator is then buying it from a distributor
Or direct, but yes,
or direct.
Depending on the manufacturer.
Exactly.
depending on the manufacturer.
And that distributor is buying it from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So there's four levels. I think we're going to stick to that lingo. There's a lot of people that intertwine those terms and use them differently and have different definitions. But for today's conversation, talking about AV distribution, manufacturer, distributor, reseller, integrator, and then end user.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great.
And just to clarify, on the reseller integrator side, so depending on the product that you're buying, typically a consumer product, typically you'll get it at a reseller, and that's usually it could be a big box store, it could be a mom and pop shop. And if you're looking for services or something a little bit more personalized, or a product that's tailored for another application, it could be an integrator or somebody who's doing the install or somebody more specialized. So
Yeah, typically integrator would sell solutions that they would integrate in the workflow of the customer, and a reseller is more like could be a music store, could be even a Best Buy, or those are called resellers.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, usually there's a physical transaction that's being done at the reseller standpoint, and the integrator is also including services.
Yep. Yeah. Good. Well,
Nice.
I think that starts the conversation
I
pretty
think
well.
it makes
at
things a
least
little easier
explain.
to understand for sure.
And there's different types of distributors on that point. Depending on the industry, I think industry also dictates a little bit about the type of different distributors, right?
Yes.
Can I go on a little rant right now?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to set
We've
something
been waiting
straight.
for a rant. Yeah.
This is the Franco rant
This
of the
is the first
episode.
rant of the episode.
You know, when I speak to people and they're like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I work for a distributor and I'm brand manager and category manager." "Oh, you move boxes." I can't tell you
The box pusher.
how much that insults me and how much it upsets me. And that's where I go into the 4-step process. Well, you see, you're an end user, then there's the reseller, and there's the distributor, manufacturer. And I think it's because, like even when I think back to my schooling in business school, like I can remember vividly in the business classes, you have the picture of the manufacturer with like that brown cardboard box making it. And then the distributor box is like a warehouse full of those brown boxes. And then the next picture is like someone holding that brown box and smiling. And yes, different industries, distributors have different levels of of importance, and they add different types of value. And some industries, they are just holding stock and acting as a logistics point in that country.
Mm-hmm.
But in the AV industry, the distributor has such an important role that impacts the end user.
Yeah.
And it impacts everyone else throughout the supply chain. And there's so much value that should be added, that is added. And it's important, I think, that we talk about that probably later on in the episode.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than just holding inventory. Sorry, I just want to get it out of my system, or else I'm going to get irked the entire episode.
Yeah. No, I think even from before, I think my earlier days, going into the beginning 2000s when I started working at my first distributor, I mean, it was always a little bit more than just box pushing. The service was always, I think that there's always room for improvements and stuff like that, but there's always a push for helping customers in the end of the day. And then it's finding those ways. I know back then, service was huge, and I'm talking about like post service. So even repairs, and when we got bought out, that company got bought out, they kind of closed that service department down, and it made huge difference in terms of customer loyalty and stuff like that. We lost a lot. Like, I think that we lost a lot of good customer base who were loyal just because of the post after sale service. Whether it was advanced replacements or even just technical expertise, that was such a huge value. And I think that's what's important in distribution. Now that has evolved obviously, but back then it was, even just to that level was really, really important.
And it's also important that the distributor has a very good relationship with its manufacturers.
Yeah.
Because they are basically especially for Canada, I mean, the distributor role is basically represents the manufacturer. So here at SFM, we have specialists about Shure microphones. We have specialists about bird dog cameras. We have specialists about all of our products. We assign a technical person to this product. So someone can pick up the phone and call if he has an issue, whether it's an end user or a reseller having pre-sales question because he wants to put some products or some solutions we sell. So I think a distributor is also, one of the role of the distributor is to make sure that the manufacturer has a good stance in the country.
Mm-hmm. I think there's different types of levels of distribution too. I mean, there's some distributors that just are there for logistics.
Yeah,
and I'm not to downplay that, because I think there is a huge role for that type of distribution. But
it depends on the industry as well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
That's right. Very industry based. And then you have the secondary level that has, I think, a little bit more services, added value services. And then you have what I'd call more master distributors, where they are the brand, they're the front face brand for the country. And I think that's super important.
Typically, those master distributor would handle, and I'll let Franco go on a little bit more on this because he's been working for our company for 9 years, but typically they would handle every type of marketing initiative that are happening in the country. They would also handle, for Canada, for example, translation, because we have a French market and we have an English market. So typically it's going to be the role of the distributor to make sure that it complies with all the laws relative to French, for example. Yeah. Also, ensuring that we have repair services for brands that needs repair, tech support, and even finance. So that's a master distributor, in my opinion.
That's right. And you bring up a good point. Actually, we're three people that are in three different departments in distribution. Yeah. And it's funny, and we all play a slightly different role, obviously.
But important.
Very important, but I think we're also very intertwined and work directly together. Franco, how do you, as a brand manager at a distributor, how do you differentiate yourself from, let's say, another? How do you explain your role or a distributor and the importance than just box pushing, like that difference?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. First of all, brand management, the way I explain it to people is, we're really the quarterback in the country for that brand. And what does a quarterback do on a team? They make sure that the offensive is doing their job, defensive, and at the end of the day, they're scoring goals. And that, to me, is being successful. What does that mean? You're coordinating that delicate dance between all the departments. We've got someone from the TAG group here, technical application group, technical marketing as well, you, Vince. And it's making sure that all the resources that the distributor has to offer are working together in order to achieve that end goal. That's the way I like to explain it. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated. It entails so much more planning and strategy. But what's really cool about my job and what I enjoy about it, we're talking about entrepreneurship and everything, is every single brand has a different strategy. Every single brand requires a different amount of resources. And every single brand has a different market. So it's a really, I find it exciting, to wake up every morning and come into work and change your hats 1,000 times throughout the day. That's what makes it so fun and exciting. Yep. Not every single day is the exact same. Every single day is different, which is a lot of fun. Yep. So from the brand management standpoint, we're really that liaison between, most of our brands are obviously located in the United States. So I like to explain it as we're their arm in Canada, we're their liaison, we're representing them. So even internally, right, we are then taking their messaging and strategy, explaining it to the internal marketing department that we have here at SFM, making sure that the strategies are aligned, making sure that we're planning efficiently. If they're planning a product launch, do we have all the assets? Do we have everything ready to go? Are we on the same schedule? Is pricing ready? Do we think of our inventory strategy correctly? How much inventory are we bringing in? We're dealing with procurement. We're dealing with absolutely everybody to make sure, like I said, that team reaches the goal at the end of the day. So it's a lot of balancing. It's a lot of negotiating externally and internally as well. And you really are running your own little business, which is, I find so much fun. I love that part of it. And that freedom and flexibility and trust that we have to ensure that the brand is successful, I think is the most important part. Because like I said, every single brand is different. Yeah. Then you take every single brand, you break that down, every single province is different. Yeah. Every single market that brand caters to is different, right? So there's so many different rabbit holes that you can get into. It can become so technical, so different. Yeah. But our job at the end of the day is to make sure that we're representing the brand correctly and that we're successful with the brand at the end of the day. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's changed definitely throughout the last couple of years. End users are a lot more, I think, demanding, a lot savvy. More educated, savvy, a lot more educated. And our job is to ensure not only the success of the brand, but you'll only have success of the brand if your reseller or integrator is successful. Yes. Right? So it's what type of tools do they need to be successful? What type of support do they need? What type of extra marketing do they need? It's so important that we listen not only to the end users, but we're also listening, obviously, to that next step. We're talking about those 4 steps. Yeah. Our direct link is those resellers and integrators. Yes. And like I said, every single brand has a different market, different type of reseller, and every reseller has a different need. So our job is to kind of figure out this puzzle and make sure that the machine is as oiled as well as possible so that as many people as possible are happy. So I love it. I enjoy it so much, and hopefully that shows.
That shows, definitely.
But it's a puzzle every day to figure out what's needed, and to make sure that we're adding value throughout the entire chain, because they call it supply chain for a reason. Every single step is interlinked. Yeah. So that end user will have the impacts and will feel the difference if everything from the manufacturer is properly translated throughout the chain. Yeah. And that's the most important part, right? Is the messaging clear? Is it consistent? Every single country is different.
I was actually going to bring that up because we're talking about how distributors are different and stuff. And when you're the face, you're the liaison for the Canadian, I was just going to say that the Canadian business is completely different than the US. And I think sometimes I've already have been in situations where you can tell that even the US manufacturers, like, it's a completely different business. We don't even know the footprint. And even when you're in Canada, territorially, it's different brands sometimes. Like sometimes on the West, they're very specific on a certain brand, it's a very unusual. We're definitely a different breed in terms of in Canada, and sometimes manufacturers that come from outside of Canada don't always understand that, and that's another reason why they'd want to choose a distributor who takes care of all the marketing and the
and a distributor that's capable of also educating the manufacturer. I think that's really important as well. It's not that, yes, some might have more knowledge than others about that country that they want to expand into.
Yeah.
But the first thing I do when there's a new brand that's being presented or we're looking at is evaluating, okay, what's their knowledge of the Canadian market?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the gaps? And let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people, they look at the map, and this is really rudimentary, right? You look at the map of the world, you see Canada, it's massive. So what's the first thing you expect? Massive amount of people, massive amount of sales, right? And then when you start explaining numbers, how the entire population of Canada is smaller than a single state in the United States. Just that one fact is like, oh, okay, I'm starting to understand now. Just because we have this massive amount of land, we have all these different hot pockets. We're not heavily. It's not, the density is not high.
No,
but we have those major hot pots throughout the entire country where there is business being transacted, and it's about educating them. It's about explaining to them that what's happening in Montreal, Quebec, is very different than what's happening in Toronto and Ontario. Even though we're 6 hours away.
Yeah.
You compare that to Vancouver, completely different as well, right?
Yeah.
The integrator strategy in Vancouver is very different than Montreal.
Yeah.
The production houses, very different strategies, different markets. Price points are also very different.
That's right, yeah.
Obviously, we're all in business. We're not going to hide the fact that we need to talk about profitability. And that's our role, too, as a distributor, is making sure that our integrators and resellers, as well as end users, are making as much profit as possible, and that they have the tools they need to do that.
Yeah.
So it's about educating. It's about explaining to them the different strategies and just making sure that they're able to cater to the Canadian market in the right ways to make sure that everyone's successful.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you?
And in your opinion, what we mentioned a few things that have changed throughout the, let's say, 15 last years, but what has changed the most in the distribution chain in the past 10 years, or what's your, let's say, the main thing that changed everything?
I think it would be like in your department, where the level of service has been even more in depth. So now I think you guys are coming up with plus services.
Yes.
And offering all these type of add-on services to help dealers qualify certain projects and have that added, where I didn't see that in the past. There was always the post sales, but I think that for me has been the biggest change.
To me, I think it's as I mentioned earlier, the customers are more educated than ever.
Yeah,
because of there's more podcasts talking about gear. There's more, internet is now prevalent. Even AI. So now customers are making, end users, let's use the right word, end users are making very informed decisions. And sometimes if it's a brand new product that us, the technical team, didn't even have time to put our hands on it. So I don't know what I don't know. I can't know what's the feature of this new product if it came out yesterday.
Same goes for the integrator. He may not have the time either to kind of get up to speed with all the
sometimes end user already know more than we do.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with 40 plus brands, whatever the number is, and we're already trying to keep up with the amount of knowledge that we need to then train the reseller, integrator, and even end user. These end users are looking at hundreds of brands. These resellers and integrators are not only dealing with a singular distributor in Canada, they're dealing with multiple.
Yep.
So you take, the 40, 50 brands per distributor, whatever it may be, I'm using that number theoretically, you multiply it by 10 distributors, there's a lot more options now. And I think that's, for me, from the brand management side and market side, competitive analysis wise, there's a lot more options in the market today than there were 10 years ago, and the end user are aware of all those substitutes that are available to them. So I think to me, that's probably the biggest change. Yeah, which relates to the aspect of them being a lot more educated. And they're asking the tough questions, which is really good for our industry.
Yeah.
Our industry, we were talking about technology and how fast it's changing. Guys, look what we can do over a Cat6 cable now. It's incredible when you really think of it.
We're going to talk about this in another podcast.
We'll talk about this in another podcast, but we can do over a single Cat6 cable. The complexity of it, the technicality of it, the end users are pushing products to their limits.
Yeah.
They're trying different ways of doing things. I think in the first podcast, you had said, 2 + 2 = 4, but 3 + 1 also equals 4.
Yeah.
And end users are realizing that. So they're trying different combinations. They're trying different designs. They're doing different things with products. They're pushing them to their limits. So we need to be ready to answer all those questions. And that's where pre-sale support comes in. Post-sale support, extremely important. Being an authorized service center.
This makes a huge difference.
This is something that personally I feel like we don't market enough. We don't talk about enough. We add so much value. Take it, take our DJ brands, for example. A lot of our products that we distribute, people are making a living off of. And I think that's something that we need to keep reminding ourselves, whether it be through marketing, through business strategy. We are controlling people's livelihood with the products that we sell, right? Not only our own livelihoods, but their livelihoods as well. So when you have the opportunity to take something that's making you X amount of money during the week or on the weekend, have it repaired within 24 hours, wow, let me tell you, that's important. And I've gone through that myself, being a DJ, bringing the equipment here. I spoke about how I, got the job here was by meeting Wayne at the window.
Yeah.
But that is so important.
It is.
To have your cue button fixed within 24 hours. That is something that is so important. Yeah. And that's what end users are starting to realize now, right? It's not only, okay, who did I buy it from, but who do they buy it from? And what's the support that comes with that product after I've purchased it?
Yeah.
So that strategy, that way of thinking is a lot more, I would say, common now amongst end users than it once was.
Yeah.
In the same kind of idea, something I've noticed in the past 10 years on the reseller level, because I've been working for resellers for 20 something years before joining a distributor, yes, price is always important, but I remember 20 years ago, I had to cut pricing to make the sale, maybe because I was a bad salesman or maybe because the market was asking for this. Nowadays, pricing is still a question, but am I going to try to save $3 by buying it outside of Canada or on the web somewhere, or I'm going to try to buy it from someone who seems to know what he's doing, like a reseller or an integrator, at the list price? Because, of course, this is kind of the elephant in the room. The pricing, as you know, manufacturers have list pricing or retail prices that we as a distributor are trying to enforce. When I say enforce, we're saying our resellers, you should sell it that price. But the reseller can decide what price you want to sell it for. But I have noticed that resellers and integrators are now trying not to cut pricing too much anymore. So that's something I've noticed, and maybe the end user is more aware of the value of the knowledge that's behind that price, or even the added value that's going to come. Yeah.
Well, that comes with increased visibility too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
10 years ago, we had internet, but it wasn't as in-depth or as competitive as it is today. Mm-hmm. The end user knows all the price points, and they're already evaluating where they're going to buy it from, even when you think they're going to buy it. Yeah. And then at the snap of a finger, they've changed their mind for XYZ reason. Yeah. They can get it quicker. It may be even more expensive. It's in stock, right? Even the fact now, I was talking about this with a couple of clients, and we're talking about e-commerce and the way websites have changed and all that. And there's a hot conversation of, showing your inventory status of a product online. Back in the day, there was none of that. There was a,
Cross
hey,
our fingers.
might be in stock, or if it's not in stock, we'll get it for you in 1 to 2 weeks,
Pick
or
up the
whatever.
phone.
There was no live inventory
No.
indicator. That is super important nowadays because people are making a decision based on that, right? So I think the way people are making decisions as well. So I said savviness and education and the amount of knowledge they have today is important. But I think the decision-making process of a consumer has also changed drastically.
Yes.
Yes.
Which has also impacted us, right? So we're talking about supply chain and how everything's linked from the manufacturer all the way to the end user. Well, it's the same thing the other way around.
That's right.
End user all the way back to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So it's consumer behavior, the psychology of it has changed drastically.
And let's be honest, I mean, Amazon has changed a lot of this with its Prime service,
Absolutely,
because you can get it. And I don't want to talk too much about Amazon, but I mean, it's still a very important player in the business in general. I mean, the fact that now people can get stuff that they purchased yesterday, today at their door, has also changed what a customer expects from their reseller or an end user expects from their reseller, and what a reseller expects from its distributor.
Absolutely.
So this is where like the whole team, Franco's team and the warehouse team has to play a big role. What do we keep in stock? What has a good velocity? I think that's the word they use.
Yeah.
So velocity is the amount of bucks you're shipping every day. So this is very important. And it goes even which products are they going to put closer to the door of the warehouse? Because basically if they sell 16 a day, they're not going to put it in the back of the warehouse. So this is more on the logistics side.
Right.
But this is something a distributor has to the role of a distributor.
That's a really interesting podcast topic, by the way. So write it down. But just talking about warehouse management software.
Yeah.
How we decide bin locations, velocity, dimensions.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to get someone from the warehouse or the operations team to
even
talk
on the
about
supply
that.
chain.
Yeah.
What fits in the container? How many
God, there's
products?
so much,
There's so much.
Yeah.
But on that, I mean, I'd like to think that distribution too, maybe not all, but I think most are also trying to help grow their dealer's business. So I think a business, and the definition of a business is to make money, right? And obviously you want to make more money all the time. And find ways to help grow the customer's business. The customer, I've been on the dealer side and I've worked with dealers for many years, and I know that they're super busy, whether you're a mom and pop shop or a bigger corporation. You're always on the reactive side.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the distributor is too, but I think as a role as a distributor is to be on the proactive side, offer education, services, like, webinars, training sessions, certifications, and helping them understand the new products that are coming onto market, how it can help solve issues and applications that they're maybe facing. They don't know that there's a solution out on the market. And little things like how Amazon has helped, finding ways to make the process of buying through a distributor even more efficient for the customer. If he's on the job site, now with apps, you can just click on, I need 2 boxes of Cat 6, click, and it's shipping to my house. Has to be that.
Yeah, it's forced us to change the ways we do business as well.
Yeah.
And think of our strategy going forward. Absolutely.
Always keeping that, at least trying to keep, the customer in mind anyways. And on the services side, have you seen how, with Plus, how are you finding it with the whole Plus services?
I think it's slowly picking up. I mean, it's picking up, but the way we organized our technical team is, we're more than 10 individual on that team, and pretty much every individual has a specialty. And I've personally started doing installations at end user sites on behalf of with resellers and integrators. That's something new for me. So this is for resellers who are trying to get into a certain vertical, let's say, I'm just going to talk broadly about a reseller that was doing only video. Now when I see video, I'm video editorial. You remember my specialty is more like post-production.
Yeah.
And now he want to try, or he has a customer, because most of them have audio and video departments. But this reseller wants to get into audio post. He's not going to get into audio post overnight. He's going to need some type of training. And recently that's a story that happened like last week. So I helped them to not only spec out what the end user needed, but also going there to install the equipment with them to basically, they are ghosting. The word ghosting, I don't know if we can use that, but when a technical person ghosts another person, he's basically learning in the field. Shadowing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. So ghosting is something completely different. Shadowing, that's the word.
I'm pretty sure Hugo answers all his emails. I don't know.
So he's basically, the reseller is shadowing, metering my install. So by offering plus services, we can help a reseller that have an appetite for a new market or a new, I wouldn't say vertical, but a new field. And we can basically help them making their way into that new field of specialization. Nice.
And what about Plus? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about Plus in terms of what are those add-on? Because again, when I saw Plus first come out, I was intrigued because I've never seen those type of services ever in our industry at all, and I found it really, really interesting. Can you touch upon?
I can touch a little bit on this. I don't have the whole list of services, but I can tell you a few. Basically, we can program for the customer. We can deploy we can program for the reseller. We can deploy for the reseller. We can support, train. There's at least 6 or 7 services we can offer. Unfortunately, I was not prepared for that question. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
But basically, it's taking resellers by the hand to help them offer more services.
That's right.
Bear in mind that we still want them to specialize, but we help them specializing, because the goal is not to do all of the installation for them forever.
That's right.
The goal is to help them
for those who want to invest.
Exactly.
Those who want to invest into growing and stuff like that, that's where you guys can come in. And
eventually, we train their tech to program, deploy, and so on.
Yeah. So the willingness on the integrator side has to be there. If
yes,
not,
yes.
Okay.
And that's where training is so important, because I think a lot of people, when they think training or knowledge, is just like, hey, this is the product, this is what it could do, and that's it.
Yeah.
But when a distributor talks about training, this is my personal opinion, I truly believe that the training also encompasses sales training as to why then the end user needs the product. Yeah. It's not an awareness training. It's teaching them how to deploy the product, to your point, from a technical standpoint, yes. Why does the end user need that product, and how will it help solve their needs?
Yeah.
And 3, it's really just making sure that they have all the tools to succeed. And that training has to cover a whole scope of subjects, because different integrators will have different strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right? So one integrator might need more of the technical side. One might need more of the marketing side. And
that's right.
How do I market this product?
Yep.
And like you said, you're guiding them, you're shadowing them, you're teaching them so that they could, at the end of the day, offer more services, increase their profitability, which in turn helps the brand get more awareness, more penetration in the market, and then the whole chain is successful. Yeah. So it's so important. That training aspect needs to cover more than just product awareness. Yeah. It needs to cover every single aspect.
And so you know what? One thing that I think lots of AV integrator have in common is a certain lack of knowledge for network knowledge or network training. And that's something I see pretty much everywhere. So
In the AV industry?
in the AV industry, unless you're an IT integrator, which is basically your job, you got to know that.
Right.
In the AV business, the AV business, one thing that has evolved a lot in the past 10 years or
That's true.
15 years
Yeah.
is the prevalence of the Cat6 cable.
We're talking about the famous Cat6 cable and what you can do. But it's true.
Yeah.
That is now your foundation. It's the foundation to the house that you're building.
It's crazy how
your
another
network.
industry started bleeding into the AV industry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now the AV industry. And like you said, it's like, I remember when I first started, I loved, my component cables and all that stuff, the basic stuff. And now it's like, I got to learn networking, and without networking.
What's a VLAN? What's a subnet?
Yeah, that's
What's a
like the
DHCP
minimum.
server?
Yeah, that's right. You really have to get into networking. And I know there's still dealers out there that are still on the fence. They're doing the basics, but getting into VLANs and stuff like that, especially going AV over IP, Dante, and all that stuff, that is huge, and they're still on the fence. But it's interesting how those industries.
Maybe I can add that we offer these kind of trainings. So that's another part of our Plus services. We have a training called IT for AV, and maybe that's going to be another topic, like IT in general in our business. That should be a topic for our podcast. But
we have so many topics. We can be doing this full time. I don't think my boss
quit
wants
our
to
day
hear
job.
that. But I think we could do this full time.
I think when I was hired too for the technical marketing position, I think that was such a cool.
That's a cool name. Technical marketing specialist.
Well, you know what? I had heard about it more on the IT side. And I had understood it, and I said that makes total sense. And then on my past life, when I was doing more on the system design side, I was realizing that depending on the people you're talking to, sometimes you have to rethink on how you're talking. And nerds, you can talk specs, and then you can kind of get an idea. And there's some others where they can't see that vision.
Right.
Just by talking specs, you still can't see. How am I getting from point A to point B? And that's when, in my position, I'm able to really translate or better articulate some of that and tell that vision first, show that vision, and then how to bring that back into a product or based on a specification and stuff like that. So the vision, and then bring it back to a product or a solution. And I think that too has changed, and there's not much of it out there where it's like, I think in the AV industry, we're all about, tech specs and stuff like that. And in some instances, like watts and stuff like that on the speaker side, everybody just wants the bigger watts, but it's not always about that. And I think education is huge. And if I can bring anything into the market, it's translating ideas into products and solutions. So,
Well, and that changes when you're speaking also to the reseller / integrator,
that's right.
but also to the end user.
That's right.
Right? That messaging has to change.
It has to. Yeah.
And that's where you add so much value is, okay, what's the strategy? Who are we going after? What are we trying to communicate?
What's
and
the story?
who are we communicating
right.
it to?
Yeah.
Because that who will change the method.
Yeah.
It'll change the strategy, the frequency, the reach. It'll change everything.
Exactly.
So that's where, we're so lucky to have you too.
Story.
Yep.
What's the story?
What's the story?
And what's in it for the customer? At the end of the day, I think it's, whether we're in marketing or service or in brand management, I think at the end of the day, and I'd like to think that all distributors are like that, but what's in it for the customer, and how can we better enrich the customer so that he can further help the end user?
Can I tell a funny story to wrap up this podcast?
Let's hear it.
So we're talking about the supply chain, right? Manufacturer, distributor, reseller, and the end user. When I bought my first pair of speakers, I walked into the reseller that I was buying all my equipment from, and I was young. I was 16 years old. I had a wad of cash ready. I was so excited. Wasn't sure if I was making the right decision or not. Spending $2,000-$3,000 on speakers when before that I was renting rusted speakers from a guy down the street, and I was ready to buy my first pair of speakers. So I walk into the reseller, and at this point, I'm 16 years old. No business school, no schooling whatsoever. Didn't understand who a distributor was, what that was. I thought that the speakers magically just appeared at this reseller's store, and that's that, right? I walked in, bought it, and left. And I walk in, and I'll never forget this. I walk in, and I did my research at the time, as much as I could. I want a portable amplified speaker that does 2,000 watts. Nothing below 2,000 watts. Because that was the number that was in my head.
Yeah.
And not sure it even exists.
I'm not even sure it existed back then. Yeah, now today I could tell you it does, but back then I'm not even sure. I want something 2,000 watts. I think the average back then, honestly, was 1,000 watts. Again, we're talking watts now. And the employee that I knew that usually helps me out is talking to some other guy. And the other guy, who I don't know, never met this guy in my life before, walks over to me, and there's a wall of speakers. He goes, "Why do you want something that does 2,000 watts? My hairdryer does 2,000 watts. Watts mean nothing." And I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he getting angry at me? What's happening? Who are you? It ended up being Andre Lamouche, who's one of our sales reps in Quebec, who works for SFM at the time and still works for SFM. And he was visiting his dealer, who I was purchasing from.
Oh, wow.
And so I always tell that story because it's so true. Like, I didn't know as an end user. I thought it was just watts, watts, watts.
Yeah.
And he's explaining so much more. Well, what size woofer do you want? What type of room? What's the application? You have to look at SPL. It's not just about watts. And so he was explaining this all to me when he wasn't even the person selling me the box. It was the reseller that was there. And so I tell that story because it just shows how the entire chain,
Not only that,
matters.
it shows the importance of a distributor.
The importance of a distributor.
Because, frankly, this guy has a lot of experience, even back then.
Yeah.
Because he's been in the business for 40 years plus.
Yeah.
So he basically was probably more informed than the reseller or the young guy you were buying it from at the time.
That's right.
In the shop.
So, I think that story just kind of ties
that's
up
pretty cool.
everything. How the distributor is helping out the reseller, who's then helping out the end user. And at the end of the day, I ended up buying the speakers he wanted me to buy, which were the speakers he was selling.
He's a good salesman.
Yeah, he was a very good salesman. But I'll never forget that day. It was so funny. I'm like, who's this guy getting angry at me? I'm never walking in here again, And still very good friends today. And I don't regret that purchase. So
And now you're in distribution.
Does he remember that?
He does.
Yeah, okay, good.
He remembers that story, and it's crazy to think, this was, 17 years ago.
Wow.
Whatever, and now we,
Your
how things
colleagues.
happen, it's scary. Life can be scary sometimes, but
Are you still looking for a pair of portable 2,000 watt speakers?
I know
I
a
am
guy.
not.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. Yeah, I know a guy that can get me some, so we're good. But yeah, that's a funny story that I like to tell because to think that I was buying, from that reseller, and not to think, we service the reseller.
Yeah.
It's crazy how things in life happen. But yeah, Andre Lamouche for you, everybody.
I'm going to say this, and I think we're going to say this often on this podcast, but the AV industry is super small.
Super
Yep.
small.
Holy smokes.
Yep.
Super, super small. So with that, thanks for hanging out with us on Behind the Rack. We hope you picked something up new, had a laugh, or at least nodded along with one of our rants. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us, hit that like, and share with a colleague or even a fellow AV fan, and help us spread the word. We'll be back with more stories, insights, and conversations from worlds of pro audio, broadcast, live sound, and systems. So until then, keep the curiosity alive, and we'll catch you on the next time on Behind the Rack.
And don't forget, like and subscribe.
Yep.
I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine.